Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Leaders Voices Project, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Robin Hoyle, Head of Learning Innovation at Huthwaite International. Robin, great to have you with us. Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, Joe.
So let's get right into the meat of this conversation around COVID-19 and the impact that has had on leaders in our field. So what challenges did you encounter when the pandemic hit for you and your organization?
I mean, I can remember very vividly because it was actually my son's birthday. So it was March the 5th, and my youngest was having a birthday. And I went into the office that day, and having had a couple of conversations the week before to say, I wonder whether or not we need to do anything about this coronavirus thing, we suddenly discovered that our order book was pretty much wiped out. We went from having a pretty full order book. I mean, we've got within Huthwaite something like 200 to 300 trainers around the world, and suddenly none of them had any work. And we had to rapidly adapt to that situation. And the obvious stuff was, well, first of all, can we talk to people about doing this virtually? Can we do this via Zoom or Adobe Connect or whatever it is that we're going to use? And the good thing was that we've been running some virtual programs since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some stuff, we had some track record. What we didn't have was a lot of skilled people to be able to deliver that. So, number one, let's understand the difference from a delivery perspective. Number two, then, what opportunities does this bring?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Suddenly, where we're an international organization, people fly to come on our programs.
Mm.
So suddenly we've gone from a position of saying you have to have everybody in a room for a period of time to make the journey worthwhile. So typically that will be 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is. Suddenly we're saying, hang on, if we've got the same amount of time to access those individuals, but actually it's in chunks of 2 hours here and 3 hours there and whatever it is over a period of weeks, what does that allow us to do to their learning activities?
Mm.
Can we shorten the process from learning the theory to implementing the practice? And that was our first focus. So rather than redesign or reuse the materials that we have been using within the traditional classroom environment, albeit with some e-learning at the front end and some stuff at the back end to support transferring to the workplace, rather than just say let's just put that into a virtual environment, we went, no, stop. Let's just take a moment to think, what is it that we absolutely need to use within a group setting? What could we do better before we meet people and between sessions? And how can we get people to do things and share the results with their peers, with their cohorts in between those activities? So if we teach somebody to ask this type of question, can we get them to go and actually ask those questions? Now, of course, then the next thing comes up and says, yeah, but they're not allowed to go and meet people.
Mm.
But actually, every commercial organization that I know pretty quickly got onto Zoom, Teams, whatever it was, or they just went on the phones.
Mm.
And
Mm.
because what we're focused on primarily and our research talks about is verbal behaviors, doesn't matter if you're not in the same room.
No.
And in fact, with the kind of businesses that we work with, which are some of them dealing with very long sales cycles, very large purchasing decisions, they might be talking to end users, chief finance officers, procurement teams, subject specialists within their client organizations. The chances are they're not doing all those meetings face to face anyway, because it would just make no sense.
Mm.
So we're already got a bunch of people who tend to be talking to other people via video conference or whatever. How do we make use of that and say, look, go and try stuff out, come back, tell us what happened, and then let's all as a group work out what worked, what didn't work, what you could have done better. And that became our learning process from there on in, which was just in time stuff. Go and do it, come back, let's reflect on that experience and see what happens next.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. And there was one other thing that when we were chatting the other day, you mentioned that really struck a chord with me, and it was around coaching. So, coaching has always been something traditionally that's been done one-on-one behind
Yeah.
closed doors. And actually, you'd identified an opportunity here for real-time coaching of coaches. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we'd worked with for a couple of years by the time pandemic hit was a collaborative platform which enabled learners to collaborate with each other, to do peer-to-peer feedback and all the rest of it. It allowed facilitators to interact with people between sessions. But what it also did was it allowed there to be a coach role. And the coach role was typically a manager who supported their people through the process. And all of this is happening on a platform which sort of looks a bit like LinkedIn. Yeah, so the detail doesn't matter, but fundamentally there was an opportunity to respond to particular posts, to particular activities, and we had a calendar associated with that. So do these activities by this day, so that everybody was going through the process pretty much together and having a similar experience at the same time, which is a real boost to their learning. And what we did was we trained the coaches to support their team. And our process then was to coach the coaches as they supported their people. So and all of that was happening within this platform so that it was transparent. And what we found was that if you're doing coaching about a new skill set or a new behavioral set, the chances are you are saying very similar things very many times to the same people. So if you've got, for example, a team of 4 or 5 that you're working with, and they're all going through the same experience, the chances are they're making some of the same mistakes. How would it be if that coaching process was transparent? How would it be if that was public? Now, there's some watch outs with that for obvious reasons in terms of confidentiality, in terms of the criticism that you give if people are just not doing things. You've got to have a mechanism for having some of those conversations privately. But if we're actually working out collectively, how do we solve this issue? How do we make that work? Why not make that public? Why not give people the opportunity to watch in?
Mm.
And I wouldn't call it a community of practice because it's not, but I suppose in a way it borrows some of those ideas and say, let's have the conversation open while we are working stuff out.
That's brilliant. And what really struck me about that was the observation that you very pertinently make, that so often we're saying the same things in coaching and mentoring sessions from one person to the next. And actually, if one person is going to value hearing it, most people are. There's the old line that trainers often use where it's like, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And if you're thinking it, someone else is as well, right?
Exactly
So
so.
it's really insightful and a great use of the technology to kind of spot the problem and also solve the problem. It's brilliant. So what advice do you have for L&D professionals who are looking to do that, to sort of move them towards success, to embed more digital learning?
I think first of all, don't worry about making mistakes. Get it built, get it out there, and see what people think about it, and then be prepared to act on the feedback.
That's a great point. And what a brilliant place to end on. I think we've gone on a journey in this video in the same way we've been on a journey over the year. We've gone from the challenge, which for you was suddenly the order book emptied, and very similar for us at the Innovation Beehive. Find a way back, find a way to look at what you have, and don't just cookie cutter face-to-face into virtual. That doesn't work. Think about the user journey, think about what it's going to achieve, think about the experience. Don't worry too much about the polish, but get the basics right and get it out there. Get it out there, get it out there. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Robin. It's been a pleasure to talk to you on the Leaders Voices project. I'm sure you'll be delighted if anyone watching wants to link in with you, right? We'll put a link to your profile in the description.
Do that thing, and ask any questions if something that I've said has excited people enough to say, hang on a minute, what about? Get in touch.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Join us again for another Leaders Voices project, and look forward to seeing you soon.